Prime Minister Modi's political mood was brutal on that fateful April Fool's Day in Warda.
ये आतंकवादी हिंदू की सजा उनको मिल चुकी है और इसलिए भाग करके जहां मेजॉरिटी माइनॉरिटी में है वहां शरण लेने के लिए मजबूर हो गए.
The naked implication of his speech was that Rahul Gandhi had somehow demeaned himself, committed blasphemy by espousing the cause of minorities. Worse, you were not a good Hindu politician if you won with Muslim support. I had to pinch myself to wake up. Was this 1909? Because with one angry speech, Prime Minister Modi had resurrected the binary of separate electorates, that Hindus should elect only Hindus while Muslims do the same for Muslims. You know, that ultimately led to the bloody partition of India in 1947. Let's rewind a bit. The year was 1909. A rather genteel pre-Mahatma Gandhi movement for independence was in vogue. In stepped Prince Aga Khan with a dangerous thought, incited no doubt by the divide and rule philosophy of the British masters. Along with Nawab Mohsin ul Mulk, they petitioned the then Viceroy, Lord Minto at Shimla. Muslims must be given a separate and exclusive representation at all levels of government. The Muslim League was born, virtually created by both gentlemen. And the Indian Councils Act 1909 was passed. The principle of communal elections was accepted, with Muslims voting to elect only Muslims in specially demarcated constituencies. A couple of decades later, separate electorates became the unbridgeable chasm between Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah that led to the creation of Pakistan. Jinnah's famous 14 points of 1929 included the following. In the central legislature, Mussalman representation should not be less than 1/3. That in the present circumstances, representation of Mussalman in the different legislatures of the country and other elected bodies through separate electorates is inevitable. Till such time as the Mussalman chose to abandon it, the Mussalman will not consent to joint electorates. The Congress, on the other hand, was implacably opposed to Jinnah's demands, and this was articulated in the Nehru Report of 1928. Everybody knows that separate electorates are bad for the growth of a national spirit. But everybody perhaps does not realize equally well that separate electorates are still worse for a minority community. They make the majority wholly independent of the minority and its votes, and usually hostile to it. Separate electorates must therefore be discarded completely as a conditioned precedent to any rational system of representation. We can only have joint or mixed electorates. Now here is another historical nugget that is, a double-edged lesson for Prime Minister Modi. When India's first general election was to be held in 1952, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru asked his iconic education minister Maulana Abul Kalam Azad to contest from Rampur in Uttar Pradesh. Maulana curiously asked why. Nehru candidly replied that Rampur was a Muslim majority area, so a victory was assured. The inimitable Maulana cut his Prime Minister short. I am a leader of India, not of Muslims. If only one cabinet peer of Modi had the courage to ask him to lay off Wayanad, which shall elect an Indian parliamentarian, not a Hindu or Muslim or Sikh or Christian one. Perhaps I'm barking up the wrong tree by digging into Congress's history to try and impress Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It's possibly, an utterly futile exercise. But then what about Chicago? It's today's story from a country that treats Modi like a rock star, and he too loves to give it bear hugs. Chicago is the classical majority constituency in Modi speak. Over 40% of its population is white. But its mayoral election last week created epic history. Running against each other were two black women. Not a single white man or woman was in the fray. Tony Preckwinkle was up against Lori Lightfoot, who was a minority within a minority within a minority, an openly gay black woman. Let me re-emphasize her triple minority status: gay, black and woman. But guess who won? Lori Lightfoot. And guess by how much? Nearly 2/3 of the vote. Oh, how I wish that our Prime Minister also takes the Chicago cue and chooses to get elected from Kishanganj in Bihar. That has India's biggest Muslim electorate. That would be a stirring celebration of India's constitution.